think quite quickly in our group we latched onto the idea of that thermal space, you actually feeling warm and making you feel warm. And we spoke a lot about the ideas, and we talked about as you move around your home, you tend to heat a room and then move into a cold room and then heat that room, and the investment we've made in the warm room is lost. And then we looked about the things we do in our house, such as we cook, and we create a lot of hot warmth, and we sometimes just vent it straight out, or our partners, wives, daughters, loved ones open the window and let it all go out. So we thought, could we hold that heat and move it around the house somehow?
Clean first.
Yeah. So there was the ideas about it. And we talked about different heat sources. So we came up with a prototype and idea to sort of see, would that work and how does that work?
Yeah, I can probably talk about this. So one of the key things was that, well, as we said before about if you're heating up one room, it seems like a waste to actually just leave that in one room. And if you look at what happens when some people do actually have things like insulation in their houses, in many cases there is something called the rebound effect. So people don't actually spend less money on energy. They don't use less energy. They spend the same amount of money to be a little bit warmer, right? So that was part of the reason we were looking at this whole idea of thermal comfort. It seems like the money isn't so much of a driver here. It's much more about feeling warm. So the idea was that if I'm really nice and warm here, it'd be really nice if basically he could just follow me around into another space. And previously, this the idea, if you want to do something like this, you need to find a way of shunting air around different rooms. And previously, like things like fans and things are generally the same price. But what's got a lot cheaper over the last few years is the ability to control things like fans and sense things and do stuff like that. So we basically put together a system and a prototype that will work out roughly in what room you're in based on some series of sensors, and look at the temperature in various places, and just use a series of relatively small, cheap fans to pump the air around with you. And basically, because we fancy messing around with robots and cardboard and fans and Arduinos, we started building some of it. And I think now is probably the good time to share the video, really, I suppose. So this is like an example of, we thought it would be useful to kind of explain this with a guy called Homer. Homer is a robot here. Oh, yeah. And this is kind of the video that we had. So straight away, this is the living room that Homer's watching television in, right? He goes into the kitchen and starts cooking, starts making some stuff. Really nice and warm in here because he's got the oven. So he spent all that energy warming that in there. So he's like, well, okay, this is nice, but I still want to watch Doctor Who. So he goes through the other room, because he's a robot, and robots clearly like Doctor Who. He goes into here, and then he starts turning around, as robots do, setting off a PIR sensor here, which is detecting him. And then suddenly, oh, he's in the room, let's get all that warm air and put it into the lounge. So it goes to there, he's like, oh yeah, now I'm going to sit down and start watching Doctor Who. And as he starts bashing into walls, clearly, oh, he's really enjoying himself now, and he hasn't quite got the hang of watching television. But the idea is that over time, air flows in, and then at some point, you're going to see that the temperature in the lounge has got really nice and warm because all the hot air is no longer being wasted, but bam, in the lounge, really, really nice and warm at far lower cost than having to actually heat up the lounge itself. So you're using the same air in two places. And that's kind of it. Look how happy we are. I can actually enjoy this. Yeah, that's kind of it, really.
We should mention that the robot had a temperature sensor on the top, so it can detect the temperature in the different rooms. So that's how.
That's pretty much it. We used some sensors in here to communicate this idea. That's pretty much the main idea. That we did start playing around with ideas of beaming heat onto people. It's not really like death rays, I promise. Right, but we did start playing around with some of those ideas too. But this seemed to be the easiest one to build and demonstrate. And this is it. We could probably learn out about how we build it and what we built on it, but you should be able to see most of the stuff on here really. But yeah, that's the idea that we had, guys. So we have to open the floor to some questions.
Very good.
Wow.
Does you think the fan cool the air, or is it?
It moves the air around. So I mean that's if you think about it, you've got like stuff like HVAC, which is used in huge buildings with loads of money, and we just thought, well, if we take those ideas, they clearly work, if they're working over there, what if we could scale it down to smaller buildings and use it there? Because the idea is not to be quite as invasive as redesigning the entire building. It's strange as it sounds, punching a few holes in a rather than redesigning an entire wall seems like it's going to be more palatable to people. So these were some of the ideas for that. And if you can have a kind of active heating, actively changing the environment around you, then we thought it was worth a go on Saturday with a cardboard box and stuff like that. But no, fans are moving the area. When you're feeling cold, it's because you've got moisture and stuff like that evaporating off you, not because it's cold air per se. Yes?
You're not going to an issue with drafts? People feeling cold because there's a draft?
Well, the idea is that these are fans, and you can think of them like valves. So when you're in a nice room, if you don't want air coming in, it's sealed, right? If you do want some air coming through, you'll pump that through. But that's the idea, really. So it's not like you're going to have loads of empty open holes everywhere you'd be going.
And it's very much the idea of it being able to follow you or to move it. So we talked about in the second generation or third generation, knowing patterns. So in the morning, you're unlikely to go into the lounge, you're going from this room to that room to move some of the air around in those spaces. In the evenings, if you've been cooking or you've been dining, you move it into the lounge. And a bit about, you're right, it's perceptions. You move into a room, even if it's cold, but you feel some warm air coming in. Remember when we were children, we used to go swimming. If we were cold, we would go and stand or go and swim to where the hot pipe came in. That pipe wasn't really that much warmer, it was only a degree warmer, but we felt really warm. We're nearly going to swim in the rest of the pool. So it's that initial bit. It's not about taking that whole heating your house by moving, it's just about shunting some of that thermal energy or air that you created at high cost and then trying to utilise it. The Romans did it in their hypercourts, and it's nothing new, it's just the ability to control it now and detect presence at a really low cost. So we talked about passive infrared sensor. If you think about it, if you've got a burglar alarm system, why not use it? It flashes red when I walk into my house, into my lounge, but it doesn't do anything apart from it says, I know it's got a battery in it. But if it then started to shunt some warm air into there from a low power fan, wouldn't that be great? Yeah, and it'll freak the cat out, which is always good news as well.
Yes.
So obviously you can do next door rooms. How are you going to do above rooms?
So the idea was that you'd have a series of holes in between rooms. So I said, the ideas that apply to walls, in theory, apply to ceilings and floors and stuff like that.
So in your ceiling, we thought about this. If you, in the corner of most rooms, you could easily drop down the tumble dryer type pipe, and then in that room below, you've suddenly got a vent in there which can circulate it around. If you've got a loft space, you've got pipes over there. So this is just really low-cost solutions about just moving air around. And then we talked about it, second, third generations as you retrofit. One of the ideas was, how about the hot water? So those people who've got underfloor water heating, had a bath and had a shower, use that water to go into the heat exchange. So as you go somewhere else, it just heats the underfloor heating. With that, 1 or 2 degrees can take hundreds of pounds off the heating. So even just recovering a bit of that heat, don't have to be perfect. We're not talking about.
How do you see it working with many people? This seems quite focused on the individual.
Yeah. So I think it's one of these lifestyle things. So in the mornings and in the evenings, and it was very much about getting people back into the lounge. We know that TV has now got people. So like your idea is about zonal heating, thermal heating, and individual heating. And we talked about the next generation up. Would there be a fan on top of the radiator that sort of said, Mark likes to be this warm, so it blasts the air that way. Daughter likes to be this cold, so you can start to directionalise it in the room. So you can start to say, rather than just trying to heat the whole room, you just focus it. So you don't have to be in a turbine, being swept by air, but you can get that. Yeah. So
How big would the fans be in reality?
about 20 feet, we thought. Every calculations. No.
Yeah, it's just interesting whether it could become like an actual design feature of the house in a way that would be, would they try and be unobtrusive, or would you actually make it something that is almost like the focus of the room? Like instead of a fireplace, additionally, you might have an attractively designed fan as a kind of.
I think we'll get some data points and ask some people, but in my world it'll be small and unobtrusive. Okay. Other people, hey, I'm a fan, look at that. Come out, mine's got chrome blades.
Fans, fans,
Yeah.
you're going to get a whole. Brilliant. Very, very good.
So
where the cost advantage to using a standard bathroom fans, which also have shutters.
Yes, yeah. So we tried to, we took stuff off the table, which was really encouraging because it's just stuff which is there.
Yeah.
And it's not, it is just about the control, which I think is the thing that's changed. Look how much stuff we've done today without doing those boards, which you couldn't do. Or you could do, but the cost was just prohibitive now.
Plus, we've got to play with robots.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.